thank you so much for coming, everybody. Today we're joined by Leslie Scott Jones, Doug Spearman, and Munir Nazir. Could you all introduce yourselves and your role on Grounds? Maybe Leslie, could you go ahead and start?
Sure. I'm Leslie Scott Jones. I am the writer and creator of Grounds. I am primarily a theater artist, and Grounds kind of came up like a lot of things did in the pandemic when all kinds of artists were looking for things to do. And so I came up with the idea and ran it by professor friends of mine, Munir being one of them, to kind of shape it and figure out what exactly we were going to try and say and do, and then contacted my actor friends like Doug, and yeah, made season 1 happen. And now we are in the process of getting started recording season 2, which hopefully will be out in June. And yeah, so season 2, I'm not done writing it, but it's coming along really well. Got some surprises for the professors in store. And that's me. Doug.
Okay, my name's Doug Spearman, and I'm an actor, a writer, a producer, and a director. And I play the LGBT professor on staff at this university. And I basically do what Leslie tells me to do.
He takes direction very well.
I try.
And Munir.
Good afternoon. My name is Munir Ahmad Nazir. I am. Doug sort of stole my heat there because I just do what Leslie tells me to do, basically. You know, I'm sort of her brother slash local curmudgeon, and I would like to say I've only served as an adjunct professor. We're sort of the labor force of higher ed. And I've done that at a few different universities, and I'm currently at UVA as the program coordinator and the director of instruction for the Upward Bound program. So, yeah, that's sort of me in a nutshell.
And Munir actually appeared in an episode of season 1. He voiced a character for us. So he's had his hands all over this. Like, he was the first person I called when I came up with this idea, and I was like, "This is what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And we had one of our 3-hour phone conversations about it. And he was like, "Oh, you need to talk to this person, and you should talk to this person, and don't forget talking to this person." So don't let him downplay his inputs.
I'll say I serve as a conduit. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
There you go.
All right.
Great. So we're going to go ahead and play the episode 6 here in just a minute. But before we start that, Leslie, could you kind of catch us up on what's happened in the previous 5 episodes? And then after we listen, we'll have some more questions for you all. I have a couple questions to get things started, but as you're listening, if you're thinking of things, make sure to write them down and we'll have a Q&A.
Sure. So episodes 1 through 5 in season 1, actually a lot happened. So the first episode is a double episode involving Doug's character, Eli, who is accused of trading sex for grades. So that was the double episode that opens the entire series. And then we moved to these 5 professors really coming together and creating their own inner world with each other, where they're talking about dealing with students, they're talking about helping students with rallies and protests on campus. And then by the time we get to episode 6, it's time for tenure review. And some things have happened within the friend group that they realize it's time for them to kind of come together and create a more authentic community with each other, so that they have kind of their own insular protection from all of the other things that they deal with on a daily basis. So this is where episode 6 picks up.
Great. Should I go ahead and play it?
Go for it.
Great.
Last week on Grounds.
I don't like dark chocolate, 'cause it's never liked me. Smooth yet bitter, the arrogance of its existence fills me with all the warmth of winter icicles.
Interracial relationships, the racial divide ruining the black community.
Oh, that thing.
You've read this horse shit?
Maybe we should invite him for a guys' night. Sit and have a talk with our brother.
I'd be down. I think he feels like because we didn't immediately take his side that we're against him.
I don't ever want him to feel that way.
Oh, I can't wait to meet Pops.
He's gonna love you. Baba never met a black woman he didn't like. But they're asking for help from other countries now.
I'm almost glad this is happening at the end of the semester.
Right? At least if it gets to China's level right now, we'll already be at home.
Seriously, guys, I'm gonna need you to buy some masks and gloves.
Next episode of Grounds.
Does it scare you?
A little, but I also think it would be cool if everything shut down and we got to stay at home together.
You do, huh?
Yep, because I like spending time with my family.
I do too.
I am not. I had a run-in with a colleague yesterday, and I am still trying to get over it.
Well, the chair of your department graciously agreed to allow me to inform you. The committee is very pleased with your progress toward full tenure.
My dad is in the hospital. Simon said I should come.
So what we know right now is that it's spreading rapidly. It's already in Europe, and they think there have already been cases in the US, but they weren't calling it COVID.
And it spreads through droplets?
Right. So basically talking to someone, or if someone is infected, coughs into their hand and touches something that you touch.
I saw an article talking about how this has been present in animals for a long time now. They have vaccines for it in cows.
Yeah, but the strain is different. It won't work on us. The other thing is that it mutates at such a high rate and shuts down the body. So if someone already has health problems, it can take them fast.
What are the symptoms?
Shortness of breath, cough, fever. But we don't know if you can be asymptomatic and infect others. We also don't have science yet to know how long you can be a carrier before you become symptomatic. They are saying that best guess is 14 days.
This is so scary. Are we gonna have to shut down?
This is going to be a shit show. Do they have testing ready yet?
China does. They're working with other countries who are just seeing cases to get testing protocols set up. But right now, it's all reactionary.
Morning, everyone. Whoa, you okay, bruh? I am not. I had a run-in with a colleague yesterday, and I am still trying to get over it. What happened? We were discussing the academic validity of hip-hop, which I thought we agreed on. Then I questioned him about an article he had just gotten published that was sloppy academic work. He retaliated with a remark about how I wasn't smart enough to criticize his work.
Why aren't you? My God, you were educated at Oxford and Berkeley, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, according to him, I was a diversity hire and therefore not on his academic level.
That's bullshit.
Who is this?
Professor Davis.
I know him. He's got a real chip on his shoulder. He thinks because he studies black music that he can't be racist.
Hell, he absolutely proved that yesterday. Then, of course, I started questioning my own work.
How so?
The way I've chosen to go about studying this music is a track that most scholars do. However, given my connection to African influences, rhythms, and subject matter, I positioned that I would have a new perspective, a more valuable and intricate evaluation.
How has his comment changed your view?
As we know, no matter our research subject, they think it's me-search instead of research. I chose my track based on my interests, but maybe I should have chosen differently.
Quasi, while I understand your thought process here, at the end of the day, you have to do the work that you want to do. The amount of time we spend doing our research demands that we be interested in it.
As long as it's academically rigorous and means something to you. Fuck what they think.
That's what I've always told myself. However, I can't help but wonder if I chose this path of study primarily because it would be easier for me to get tenure. It's similar work. It's something they have a reference to understand.
How would you change it?
I don't know.
Ivan, come here.
I'm not interrupting you, am I?
Not at all. Just grading the last of the papers for the semester. I could use a break.
Just got the feedback for my third year review.
How'd it go?
Better than I expected.
You expected it to go badly?
I suppose I forgot for a moment that none of them saw my involvement in the protests. So, when looking at a book proposal comparing religious writings in the Ostromir Gospel manuscript to the Tombouctou manuscripts, I expected pushback.
Wow, that's a really cool book idea. I've never heard of Ostromir.
Yeah, part of a huge find of the Novgorod Codex that was found in 2000, and it should be really interesting comparing the evolution of the language they were written in and why they were written.
So you should be happy.
I guess I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
We all feel that way. I just got finished with my fourth year review and I'm waiting to hear.
Do you think there might be some fallout from the students' accusations?
There better not be, or someone is getting the pantsuit off of them.
Rightfully so.
Boyfriend and I have already talked about it. We've been banking money just in case.
It's crazy that you have to think like that.
It is, but it's okay. Whichever way it goes is the way it goes.
It's awful zen of you.
I've decided I'm not going to let those crackers kill me. My heart is not exploding because I'm stressing trying to fit into their little box. I am intelligent and fabulous regardless.
I guess it's going to take me a minute to get to that. I've spent so many years trying not to rock the boat, doing what I was supposed to do, that I never even thought about the why or the outcome.
Growth is hard, but it's so worth it. Kai, Quasi, and I are here to talk through things with. We have to support each other, because Lord knows these Beckys and Kens ain't gonna do it.
Yep. Well, I'll let you get back to your papers. I have some of my own to grade. See you Friday?
Yes, we're at Kai's house this week.
This is cool, Mommy.
I'm glad you think so.
Usually Daddy picks me up after basketball.
Well, Daddy wanted to go to Amara's dance class because he hadn't seen her dance yet. So you're stuck with me.
It's not like that. Plus, I got ice cream, so really, you can pick me up all the time.
Well, we'll pick up dinner for everyone on our way home. I just wanted to have a moment with my baby boy.
You love me.
Yes, I do.
I love you too.
So, how was your day? How was practice?
Okay, I'm getting better. At least the coach isn't yelling at me all the time now.
So it's not like baseball.
Yeah, that's still my favorite. But basketball is fun too.
And how's the math coming?
Do I really need math? Can I do life without it?
Unfortunately not, baby. You think you need a tutor?
Maybe Marcus could help me.
That's a good idea. I think he would like that. Would you like to ask him when he comes over for dinner Sunday?
Yeah.
What else is going on?
A girl at school today wouldn't hold my hand.
What?
The health teacher asked us to get in a circle and hold hands to like pass energy or whatever, and she wouldn't do it.
Did she say why?
She was like, no way, I'm not holding hands because COVID.
Do you think she was right?
Yeah, I guess.
Does it scare you?
A little, but I also think it would be cool if everything shut down and we got to stay at home together.
You do, huh?
Yep, because I like spending time with my family.
I do too. All right. Let's get some dinner and take it home for Amara and Daddy.
It's been hard the past few weeks at my house.
What's going on?
Elena doesn't understand what's going on. You know, she's used to the old Ivan. She's trying to adjust to the man I'm becoming.
She's trying, though.
Yeah. I'm just not sure if she's doing it because she still wants kids. I'm just not there yet. I got too much to work out.
Having children is something I really look forward to.
I used to. Right now, all I can see is the harm the world will do to them.
Or the harm you would do to them.
Yes, that's what I worry about. How can I raise a child that has a mind for Black liberation when I don't even know how to get there within my own mind?
What do you see as the path so far?
I don't know what the path looks like, in all honesty. I know what I don't want.
That's a start.
I want a child that doesn't buy the norms that society forces us to be a part of. What kind of norms? Because there are some old traditions, especially in the Black community, that I still think have merit. Now, for instance, I want them to be tied to the traditional idea of gender, being chastised for how they dress, assigning certain fashion to masculine or feminine.
Good luck with that. I've struggled with that all my life. You know, I was almost 30 when I did my first drag outfit.
You did that?
Yeah, a group of friends put on a drag show to raise money for a youth center that catered to gay youth. It was a blast.
Did they assume that you had done it because you're gay?
No, but I found it really freeing. It was like putting on another persona for a time. A persona that didn't give a shit about what anyone thought.
Yes, I want them to have that kind of freedom.
You would think that my upbringing was really homophobic, but it wasn't. Baba never adhered to any of that crap. Umi certainly didn't.
My family did. There was never any talk of gay people being bad or less than, but it was definitely known that it was something you didn't want to be or be around.
Do you still feel that way?
No, I've never really thought about it.
So you don't think about how I have to enter the world?
Not really. It's not my experience.
Do you see how that's the same argument that a white person would be using about the Black experience?
I guess it is.
I live at the intersection of Black and gay. And there are times when I don't feel like I belong in either one.
Is that due to the perceptions of what a Black man is supposed to be?
In part, but it's also about how the community as a whole traditionally and in some ways still views gay men. We're the predators. That's the main reason that student's accusations work so well. Even without Me Too, that young white man knew the way to use his privilege as a weapon against me.
Yes, the system pushes us to align ourselves with the oppressor because we want to get a position where we feel as though we have some sort of freedom without talking about the responsibility that goes along with power to take care of those who don't have it.
And that's when we fall for the okie doke and think that if we follow their rules, we'll be free.
The system worked because we equate freedom with power. And power means the fight to do whatever we want.
Damn, I need a drink after that. Me too.
A toast, gentlemen, to building authentic community.
Amen.
Absolutely. Damn, Ivan, the scotch is good.
Thanks. I had been saving it for a special occasion. I thought this fit.
I'm glad you could enjoy it.
So, Kai, is it a religious thing why you don't drink?
No, it is haram to drink alcohol, but that's not why I don't. I never really liked the taste of it, so that was something I got into.
That's cool. I admire people who can fly in the face of the accepted. That's always been hard for me.
How come?
I was the one in my family who was supposed to get out. All my cousins were in the streets, in jail. My mom wanted more from me, so I was the one who had to follow the rules, get good grades, be the example.
I know that. I'm the oldest. So when I finally came out of the closet, they just had no idea how to accept it. But that broke me of having to follow any other rules but my own. My father stopped paying for Morehouse, so I had to hustle and get a scholarship to Tuskegee mid-semester, which was even unheard of then.
How did you do it?
I had luckily met the professor who would become my mentor. He made sure I got what I needed.
You talk to your siblings?
My youngest brother's the only one who talks to me. The others are so terrified of defying our father they wouldn't dare.
Do they ask about you?
I don't know. Simon and I don't talk about it. We talk about our respective lives. He's about to graduate with his PhD in history from Prairie View.
That's big.
Will you go to the graduation?
I'm not sure. I want to. But I also want to keep my peace. I'm not going there and play some role. If I go, boyfriend is coming with me and we are holding hands and making lots of noise.
I know that's right. You should go.
I agree. And I think I need to adopt that attitude more in my life.
How so?
I happen to have 4 tickets to see Kendrick Lamar next month. I'd love for you to go with me, with one exception.
What's that?
I wear what I bloody well damn well please. Look, I need to apologize, man. After all the learning I've done, I get how that was wrong.
We all should apologize about that. The truth of hip-hop is that it makes room for every expression of blackness. And we didn't do that for you.
Thank you for saying it. That means a lot.
Inshallah, this virus allows us to be there.
That doesn't mean we won't be on you about other things. I'm gay. My petty is highly developed. Professor Wright.
Good morning, Professor.
President James, good morning. To what do I owe the phone call?
I wanted to check in with you.
About anything in particular?
I wanted to make sure the resolution to the incident at the beginning of the semester was adequate.
Yes, I think the public apology went a long way to restoring my reputation. I also have spoken with the student since then, and I believe he learned a valuable lesson.
I'm glad. There was another reason for my call.
All right.
This is not the way things are done normally, but as the president, I was able to pull a few strings and be the one to deliver the news to you about your 4-year tenure review.
I see.
Well, the chair of your department graciously agreed to allow me to inform you. The committee is very pleased with your progress toward full tenure. We're excited to have you with us. We value your contributions both inside and outside the classroom. And I, for one, believe that the M-Dub family is better for having you as a member.
Thank you for the kind words, President James. And thank you for the news. I'll look forward to delving deeper into the remarks from the committee with my department chair.
Very well. I'll let you get back to work. Have a great day.
You do the same. Well, that went better than expected.
So we're going to be at my maternal grandmother's house.
Marcus is going with you?
Yep, he's only staying for the weekend. The kids wanted him to meet their nanny.
That's so cute. Boyfriend and I will be on the beach.
That sounds like the perfect vacation. I miss California beaches.
We'll be in Malibu.
I'm staying here for break. My parents are going back to Ghana to visit extended family.
You didn't want to go with them?
I have 2 weeks of uninterrupted time to get through the first 3 chapters of this book. I'm using the time.
If you want a break or some home-cooked Southern food, you let me know. I'm only going to be a few hours away.
A few hours?
All right. I may need a reason to get away from the craziness of the house.
Due to the spread of the coronavirus.
We will discuss with professors how instruction at the resume of classes will be virtual.
Shit. Excuse me. It's my brother.
Simon?
So I guess this means everything's about to change.
Absolutely everything.
My dad is in the hospital.
Oh, no.
He has COVID. Simon said I should come.
Ya Allah. Replace our sadness with something beautiful. Ameen.
Thank you for listening to Grounds. This episode starred Omar Nazir as Omar and Mike Moxham as President James, along with Leslie Scott Jones as PJ, Kevin Troy as Quasi, JJ Johnson as Kai, Doug Spearman as Elijah, and Will Jones as Ivan.
Grounds.
Grounds is a registered trademark of Eugene Martin, LLC.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you for listening and coming. Such a good episode. I want to start by asking you all who were in the cast, what your characters mean to you and what you did to prepare to play them and inhabit them.
I'm sorry, I only heard part of, were you talking to all of us or one of, I only heard part of that. My internet's a little spotty, I'm sorry.
No problem. I can repeat it. I was talking to you and Ms. Scott Jones about how you started preparing to play your characters and what those characters mean to you.
Ladies first.
Well, I have a lot of friends who are professors, and because I was also writing it, I did a lot of conversating with them about what their day-to-day lives are like, their workload, and the things that they have to put up with on a sometimes daily basis. And I also, when I finished the script, per episode, I would send it to my story consultants, who are all professors at, they're all Black professors at PWIs, and basically say, okay, here's the story for next week. Is it true to your experience? Is there anything I can change? Is there anything I should add? And they were really great about saying, oh, yes, that happens, but it wouldn't be said that way, or people wouldn't be so overt. It would be, this or that. So that became my preparation. What about you, Doug?
Well, I played a college professor before on a series called Noah's Ark, although he was an economics professor. So I did a lot of research about that, including trying to teach an econ class. And I've also been a teacher. I taught junior high school drama for a year. And I taught acting classes in a studio. So I understand what that part of it's like. Leslie was really great about getting our feedback, both as Black men and me in particular as a Black gay man, to make sure that the words coming out of Elijah's mouth actually were authentic and true. And I really appreciate that. And a lot of it was just reading the script and making sure that everything that happened was true to Leslie's vision of the character and the story in general. And it was also really interesting that we started recording a lot of this stuff right around the BLM movement last June, and all through the pandemic. So it was a lot of just taking personal experience, although my life's very different. Like, I didn't have the same kind of drama with my parents that Elijah does. And, the tenure track isn't something I'm on, but, I know people who are on that track. In fact, my best friend is a gay Black professor at the University of Maryland in the theater department. So he and I talked about stuff, and I've known him for as long as he's been at the school. So I drew on a lot of different things.
Your mentioning of recording it this summer while the BLM protests were happening kind of gets at my next question, which is, how did that and COVID happening during all of this influence or change the script or the way you performed it?
Well, I made a conscious choice not to put the pandemic in the script until the very end of season 1. So pretty much the life of the script and real life are just like offset just a little bit. So in the life of the script, the pandemic doesn't hit and a shutdown doesn't happen until winter break. in their life. So it gave, and I did that because I wanted to give a difference between their life before and their life after the pandemic started. And I guess we did have 2 episodes where it was specifically talking about Black Lives Matter and protests, but we made it very personal to the script, in that the Black students ask the professors, the Black professors, to help them with a protest about a festival that has always been carried out on campus in celebration of the slaveholders that own the plantation on which the university is built. And so the Black students are like, you know what? No, we're not doing that. And they come to the Black professors and say, hey, can you help? Can you, support us in this? And that's where Munir came in and voiced our student.
To bring Munir in a little bit more, could you all tell us about a time that, maybe you had something in the script and then Munir, another one of the faculty advisors you had, kind of helped you tweak it and make it even more realistic?
Well, like I said, I sent the script to all of them. They got every single script before we recorded it. And I guess, Mu helped with episode, I think it was 4, that was the protest episode, because he was also acting in it. And episode 6, one of my other story consultants, Dr. Talley, helped with that one, because we literally had like a 3-hour conversation about what tenure is and how long it takes and how much work it is. And, at the end of that conversation, I was like, okay, you need to get off the phone with me because you obviously have so much more to do that I am keeping you from. But most of the story consultants, like the conversation between the 4 male professors that you heard in episode 6, I know how to write a Black man. Like I can do that. But writing a conversation between 4 Black men as educated as these men are, I was like, I'm not even sure how that conversation begins, right? And we all have a public face that we give to people, but when we're behind closed doors with our friends, the language changes. And I have friends that are professors, and I know they talk to me in a certain way that they wouldn't in a public setting. But, I just wanted to make sure that that was authentic. And so I literally, I bribed one of my story consultants with pictures of my grandchildren. And I was like, I just need like a 20-minute conversation. Look how cute they are. And he and I had a conversation about, oh, okay, that's the conversation you want to have. All right, this is how it would start. And yes, it absolutely would be the gay professor that starts that conversation. And this is how they would enter into it. So, sometimes it was, here, what do you say about that? And sometimes it was just a phone call, like, I'm lost. How do I enter this conversation?
I want to open it up. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say something, because there was the previous question you asked, what was it like to record it doing this? Because it's one thing the way that Leslie structured it, but like being in the middle of all of that and trying to find a voice while dealing with the fact that I'm in quarantine. And right before we started shooting this, I moved from Los Angeles to the Deep South. I moved to New Orleans, which is a bubble in the middle of the Deep South, but I still live in the Deep South. And my experience being a Black man is very different here than it is being in Los Angeles. And the conversations that I was having as a Black man with other Black men while we were recording this were very influential and very poignant and very sharp. And it also kind of, you know, listening to the episode, like I very rarely watch or listen to any work that I'm in. It's a weird thing. It's kind of like finding a dead body in the woods. You're horrified and you're fascinated. So I tend not to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really is. It's like finding a corpse in the woods. So listening to my voice on the recording, I could hear an edge in it that I really could, that I don't have now. And I know it was from the fact that I had had too many conversations over too long with my white male friends, gay and straight, where I was tired of explaining myself and explaining the situation and realized I didn't have to do that. And also the rawness and the connection that I was having as a Black man, not just as a Black gay man, but as a Black man in America like that, I could hear it in my voice and I could hear it in Elijah. So I just wanted to comment, I just want to bring that up because it wasn't, you know, everything happens in context, and there's the context of the story, and then there's the context of the world that the actor is living in, and I could hear it. And I could hear the tension in my voice and the fear and the anger. And it's really interesting to go back and listen to that because that was almost a year ago. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's something that one of my consultants and I talked a lot about, is the fact that because we were doing this inside of quarantine at the beginning of a pandemic, there were reactions to the pandemic that we didn't really realize. Like, we just kind of folded it, as Black people, we just kind of folded it into our, everyday trauma. Like, oh, right, this and the other thing, right, let's just pile that on. So Professor A.D. Carson and I had a long conversation about, there have been reactions to life, and then there's the reaction to life with pandemic over top of it, and no one's talking about that intersection. No one is talking about how, if it were just life without the pandemic, your reaction would have been different. And that's what we're going to start season 2 with, is basically it starts 6 months after the end of season 1. So the professors have had 6 months of teaching within this virtual world, and all of their lives are different for very different reasons. So the very first episode starts with the professors all meeting for the first time, socially distanced, in his backyard, and just kind of catching up. The first time they've seen each other in person. So, there's going to be a very stark difference as to how they communicate with each other from first season to second season. Absolutely.
I just want to follow up with what Leslie and Doug said and sort of echo their sentiments about the context that was unfolding or emerging while the show was being written and recorded. And what Doug had just said made me immediately recall the statement by James Baldwin about being, Black and aware in America is to be in a constant state of rage. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that feeling that's constantly bubbling within actually found some catharsis for me during that period. Leslie and I have these sort of epic, bi-weekly, monthly, weekly, just kind of depending on our schedule, 1 to 3 hour conversations, and they're very organic. And we talk about our
We talk about the family and what's going on with us, and the art we both are involved in, our jobs, and then just sort of trying to navigate the sort of the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. The fact that here we are in the midst of a pandemic, here we are in the midst of an upswing in the BLM movement. And I think what I noticed more than anything, and I'm not sure what the influence was, again, I think we're all sort of human filters, right? So whatever we're experiencing is gonna somehow come out of us in some form or fashion. And what I found myself doing a lot was the folks that I really loved and cared about and meant a lot to me, I was having those sort of conversations like I did with Leslie, and they were very cathartic. And, I have one friend, I think he's on the line right now. He might be asleep and just be signed in, actually, brother Jeff. And I've known Jeff for like 24, 25 years. And we talk a couple of hours every day on FaceTime, and it's very cathartic. And at the end of every conversation, it's like, love you, brother, love you too. Talk to you tomorrow, inshallah. And and we just keep it moving. But those opportunities wouldn't have necessarily emerged if we weren't going through that particular struggle that Doug was speaking of. It's like, I kind of have always been that dude that's agitated white fragility. And this is going on, 30 years now for me, but this particular context, it took on an edge. I think that's the word Doug used too, a certain edge that wasn't necessarily there before. And almost like, you know what, I'm just gonna speak my truth. I'm not gonna be I think AD used this in a conversation that either I had with him or he was having, and I'm referring to Professor A.D. Carson, and I think he said something about corporate sponsored Blackness and the performative nature of the BLM movement that emerged right after the murder of George Floyd. And I'm very involved in justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, and a lot of what I've been doing lately is just sitting back and sort of observing. I want to see, is the rubber really going to hit the road, or is this some sort of performative, like, hey, we're going to paint something on the wall, we're going to put this logo on our on our letterhead, et cetera, et cetera. But as soon as all this comes to, sort of simmers down, so to speak, then we're going to just get back to the status quo. And so I think one of the things that I'd love to see happen is that we sustain this momentum of rage, and it's more purposeful. It's like a laser almost. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Does anybody else have any questions? We over here in radio are very comfy with silence, so happy to give you a minute to think.
This is for anyone. How do you manage the day-to-day? How do you sustain yourselves in an environment which is in fact not sustaining of you?
That's a really great question. And I appreciate it. Meditation, it's that constant state of rage doesn't necessarily go away. And I was thinking about that. So I live in New Orleans. I was driving down the street just on my way home, and I'm sorry, somebody's car alarm is going off and my phone's near a window. And I grew up in Washington, D.C. in a middle and upper middle class neighborhood and an integrated neighborhood and an integrated family. But I'm being exposed to a kind of Blackness that I've never seen. And I can see the generational and the systematic oppression of Black people in a way that I didn't ever experienced. And it makes me furious. And what I do, and I have to look at, is figure out, how do I help? Like, what's my purpose here? It's not just to feel it and be angry, but I had a principal in our high school who was unbelievable. His name was Frank Tracy. And Mr. Tracy used to say, if it is to be, it's up to me. So I can't just be pointing at the problem all the time. I've got to figure out a way to be part of a solution or create a solution. And part of it, I know, is through art and, taking parts like this. And, like, if I show up on a screen or in a podcast or on anything, there's some Black kid out there who's going to see that or hear that and go, that's possible. That's possible. Do you know what I mean? And I have to be present and I have to be visible, rage or no rage. But I also have to ask for divine guidance from whatever power greater than myself that I believe in order to, like, calm the anger and look for a solution and await further orders. Because I don't care whether like, being an actor has changed. Being a Black actor has changed a lot in the last 32 years that I've been doing it. You know what I mean? We are on a level of visibility in the last 2 years that is unprecedented. And especially Black women, especially brown-skinned Black women, which is amazing. And that may not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but the stratification of color in our society and as the way it's reflected in Hollywood is unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? And to see us and be there, like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't seen Ben Vereen in Pippin when I was 12, because it was like, oh my God, it's possible. Somebody can sing, dance, and act, and that's what I want to do because he's doing it. But I have to sustain myself. I have to practice peace and then look for a way to be of some kind of help. Because I can't tackle it all, but I can't let it tackle me too. So I spend a lot of time in meditation and programs that help me be the best person I can be, and then look for places where I can put myself and be part of a solution. And just show up and be authentic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. I was just talking with a dear friend of mine couple of days ago, and I said, if it had not been for my spiritual practice, my meditation practices throughout this, like, I don't know where, like, I really, if I did not have my connection to spirit, I would have gone insane. I literally would have gone insane during the last year. And then the fact that it also gave me time and space to work on pieces like this that I never even could have thought would have been possible or something that I would be doing. It gave me the space to finish a play that I've been working on for almost 3 years, that's being produced literally right now. It gave me space and time to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, what art do I really want to create? And how am I going to go about doing that? And what is it that I need to say that is my unique voice that might help someone else? And very similar to Doug, like, the reason I got into theater and acting and all that is because when I was 14, my mother took me to Ford's Theater to see Ain't Misbehavin' with the original Broadway cast. And I saw Nell Carter and I was like, I want to do that. And just like Doug said, like, if something I do can be that for that next little Black girl, then that I know for a fact that my purpose here is to make sure that other Black artists have the tools and the platform to do what they love to do in their most authentic voice. That is my purpose here. I know that.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. This is rich.
I'd also answer that question very similarly. The idea of prayer and self-reflection and introspection, something that I don't think is naturally built into what we might refer to as a McDonaldized society, where we have a drive-through mentality. It's, you know, everything is a certain amount of immediacy. And so I think the idea of self-isolation, and then self-isolation with your family. I've been married for 22 years, and I have 2 teenage sons. And, you know, I have to say, my wife and I have been kind of laughing, like our marriage is probably better than it's ever been, because we really have gotten to know each other, because you go to work and you're part of a grind, and you sort of, it's almost like you're an automaton, right? You're sort of going through the motions. And so this really gives you a chance to know somebody. You're in one house, there's 4 of you, 4 very different people. And I also just constantly remember this idea, this mantra of, you know, the elders telling us, don't let them steal your joy, baby. And so I refuse to let folks steal my joy. And that joy comes in many forms and fashion, whether it's, you know, my love of hip hop music, or playing the guitar, or fellowshipping and talking to my friends, my brothers and my sisters, my tribe, you know, because that's sort of how I refer to them. That piece, it allows you to be a silver lining miner. You know, you regardless of the fact that Rome is burning outside my window, I feel like I'm still giving thanks for just what I do have. And, you know, it's not perfect, but it's better than so many other folks. And I feel like the idea of servant leadership, constantly serving, and I think both Doug and Leslie spoke to it from a theater perspective. For me, it was those teachers, you know, K through 6th grade, growing up in DC, going to public school. I had nothing but Black women as teachers. And they gave me the necessary armor I needed to deal with Virginia public schools, which were vastly different. When I moved in like the middle school to Northern Virginia, it was vastly different. And I didn't see another Black teacher academically until my first year in college. And but they gave you so much uplift, so much resilience. And so I think I went into education with the idea that I always had these folks telling me I couldn't. And I wanted to be that teacher that gave uplift to those students, to show them that they could be anything they wanted to be, that the sky was the limit. It was up to their imagination, and only their imagination, regarding what they could accomplish, and redefining what success meant for us, sort of through a decolonized lens, rather than seeing it through our oppressor's lens, but actually seeing it through our own, which requires a great deal of uneducating. We have to, like, you know, it's like you have to unlearn so much. And I feel like that's going to be a lifelong process for so many of us that have committed ourselves to that decolonization piece. But it's there. The joy is still there. It's never left. And I consider myself somewhat of a pessimist on a lot of levels, or maybe a better way to put it is a realist, but the hope never goes away, And that recognition of the spirit and the spiritual aspect of life, that has had such a huge impact on me from when I was a small child. I was raised Muslim, and you know, but it was nothing that was ever really pushed on me. It was something that my parents just modeled, and they gave me a choice, sort of like they were like, hey, you have to respect all forms of faith, you know, because all paths lead to God. So you just got to figure out what yours is. And so I'm very
Wow. Thank you all. Those are deep, thoughtful, joyful, great gratitude-filled answers. I appreciate your having shared them with me.
I just have to say one thing. I just realized that the three of us have all grown up in Washington.
Yep.
Like I did not realize, like I was born and raised in Washington, and then we moved to Maryland right over the Carolina when I was 6, and that's crazy.
We're gonna have to continue this conversation then, Doug.
Absolutely. We will set up like a little 3-way call, and yes, absolutely.
All right.
Something in the water.
DC, no, seriously, DC Black people are very different.
Yeah, we different. We are.
Like there's a required dignity that my cousin and I were talking about that, and I can now I understand you guys a bit better. But there is something about being Black in Washington DC that stiffens your spine, and especially if you were brought up in the 60s and 70s through all of that change and turmoil.
There it is.
A certain amount of pride and dignity in who you are as an individual, not necessarily a community thing, but as an individual. And you know, like you can't underplay the idea of the talk. And I think that and for those of you who don't know what the talk is, and it's something that I think that I thought it was just something in my family, and then I started talking to other Black people, and then I found out like everybody gets to talk. And it's when you're set, like when in my family, it works like this. You're sat down right before you go to college, and you are going to college. You are told what your responsibility is, not only to the family, but to the race, and how you are going to be, how you are going to be and judged, and what your responsibilities are, and then you're going to work faster, better, and harder. And that gives you a certain, you know, there's a lot of rocket fuel in that, and a lot of responsibility that you both have to accept, and that I've also had to learn how to mitigate and go, okay, those were their expectations, what are mine? But it's very clear. Leslie, what you want to say?
Yeah, I got that same conversation from my mom. And if you ask, like my mom is in her 70s now, and literally, if my daughter says something to my mom today about, Nana, you're doing too much. You need to sit down. You need to rest. She will turn around and look at her 25-year-old grandchild and say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I got stuff to do.
Okay.
That's the woman that raised me, right? So when you wonder why there's always 12 things going on in my life, why there's always a stack of responsibilities, that is why, because I grew up with this woman who was like, who never stopped. Yeah.
Do you all have time for some parting thoughts or one more question?
Yeah, one more question. Yeah.
Does anybody have anything they want to shout out? I've got a last one if not, but I do want to give everybody else a chance to ask just in case. Okay. Who is this for? If you were to dedicate your performance or your writing in Ms. Scott Jones' case to anyone or any one group of people, who would you say this is for you?
I think when I began writing it, my sole demographic that I wanted to reach was Black professors, because they are a portion of the spectrum of Blackness that's never talked about. Everybody talks about the Black student's perspective. There isn't anything that chronicles what Black professors have to go through, either within the classroom or even outside of it. And I think the best compliment I got was 2 of my story consultants reading an episode and coming back to me and saying, oh my God, this is the first time I've seen myself represented in anything artistic. That's a win. I'm done. That's what I was going for. You saw yourself. You are now uplifted, like knowing that, because that's what it does, right? It uplifts you to know that someone else sees who you are, even if it's only a portion. So. Doug grabbed a picture, so I know you got something.
Yeah, I just happened to, there's a picture on the end table and I just broke the frame. Hold on a second. So I read something, I saw a meme and it said that the meme said, I am the dream of my ancestors. And, oh crap, hold on. Well, I gotta fix the frame, but I gotta take it apart. And I do everything for them. So that's Doris and C.D. Spearman. Those are the people that I come from. It's my favorite picture of my parents. And they didn't have it easy. My dad was the product of a rape on a Mississippi plantation in 1921. His mother was a laundress and she was 15 and she was raped by a white man in the family that she worked in. And he managed to raise me in a 3-bedroom split level colonial in Hyattsville, Maryland with a big ass car. And my mom was a nurse, but she had gone to college. She had a degree in French and they both loved to read and they loved movies. And they gave me opportunities for museums and they never denied me a book or an opportunity to learn and to grow. And even though they didn't like everything about what I was into, they never said no. And I can spend the rest of my life just being grateful for these people, and all that I do and all that I say reflects on my family and the people that I come from and the people that I'm related to. And I we didn't always get along, but I love the hell out of my parents in heaven or wherever they are. But yeah, I do it for them. I do it for them, and I do it out of gratitude for the opportunities I was given in my life.
I guess I would just wrap it up by saying the idea of Ubuntu, like the idea of I am because you are, the idea of unity. That's an African philosophy that is so lost in America, where we talk about individualism and we talk about this sort of, especially in America specifically and in the West, everything seems to be done from a deficit perspective rather than from a celebration, rather than from uplift. And so for me, like the whole education piece and the fact that this is sort of revolves around Black educators is that, education can be fun. It can be beautiful. It can be exciting. It can really uplift you. Get your toes curled up because you're like, oh man, I'm geeking out on this thing. This is something I love, and I wanna share my love of this thing. Whether it could be anything from comic books to history. It doesn't really matter. But sharing that love opens, I think, a child up in a way that they're willing to be vulnerable. And then they start to understand that, like, I don't even want to use this word, but I'm going to use it. Like, the idea of failure is just merely like a stepping stone to whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever it is your goal might be. And it's okay. You just pick yourself up and you dust yourself off. And if I think Black history and Black folks have taught us anything, is that we, and still I rise, right? Let me go ahead and just quote it. I'll mic drop on that one, because I can't think anybody better in that regard. And as Doug said, it's about the family, it's about the tribe, it's about mom and dad, it's about, my sons and my wife and my extended family, which I'm so grateful for, so thankful for.
Thank you all so much for giving us a chunk of your Saturday afternoon on this beautiful day and sharing your work with us. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for the hand clap. This was great. I really appreciate the conversation, and it was a true pleasure and an honor to be here. And thank you for listening, and just listening, because sometimes all we really need is just to be listened to.
Anybody else have any parting thoughts? I hope everybody can get outside today if it's as warm where you are as it is here.
No, I'm stuck inside, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all gonna be okay. No, thank you guys so much for listening, for taking the time to talk with us. And, go to Anchor, listen to the entire first season, and, keep your eyes and ears peeled for season 2.